Hey everybody, Dave Kawada here, and it's time for ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. And one thing's great about the summertime is, well, right now we're kind of getting into almost when the fall is going to start. Class is going to start at the University of Hawaii, but that means the fall sports are really getting into gear. And one of the great fall sports at the University of Hawaii, of course, is women's volleyball. So we have as our guest today, we get a chance to talk story with Mylana Byrd. And Mylana, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of our segment here.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Dave.
And it's funny, we were just talking a little bit before we actually started this recording, but I was impressed by the vines in the background in your room. So it's like cool
Yes.
that, you kind of give it that flora, fauna look and that kind of Hawaii atmosphere, so to speak.
Yeah, I just bought a plant that has these exact same fake plants, and I'm hoping that it'll grow a little bit more and I can actually hang the real plants around my room. And also, like, my backyard, my window, straight to somebody's little papaya trees, everything. So I'm like, I have the plants practically in my room. I like the vibe.
All right.
Yeah.
Where are you guys in terms of your schedule as far as getting ready for the fall season? Like, has practices started? What point are you in right now?
So we're not with coaches yet. So our camp will start August 8th. So what is that, in about 2 weeks? So right now we're just, we're in weights, we're working out, we have open gyms, but it's without coaches, it's on our own. And this is our preseason almost, in a sense.
I always wondered, like, at this point, right? So you're not with coaches yet, but are you guys given, like, do the coaches kind of give you, okay, for this period, we want you to kind of hit certain milestones or do certain things? Do you guys have kind of a plan like that?
We sort of map out, obviously we know, like, in the beginning, take it a little light. You don't need to do, practice every day. And we know, like, in a sense, when to ramp up the times maybe. But in the spring, coaches kind of give us, drills that we need to work on. We know specific skills that, Coach Rob emphasizes. So we know things that, in a timeline of that sense, but they don't give us things. It's on our own, and we can definitely go to them and be like, hey, like, what should we really work on here? What do we need to make sure the freshmen know here? But it's on our own. So yes, we have a schedule per se, but it's not really lined out. But it's really about getting those newcomers that weren't in the spring, which is when you get most of that technical training, to get everyone up to speed, everyone on the same page, same culture, things like that. So that's really the main focus in this preseason.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that you're the only senior on this year's team. So obviously that's like, wow, it's a young team, but you're being the only senior and going into this final season for you. Does that, like, do you look at that as a role I have to fill, elements of responsibility, those kind of things?
Definitely as a senior, you're I wouldn't say be pushed more into that leadership role. I feel like I've been wanting to take on that leadership role since I got here. So I don't feel like forced into it or uncomfortable, because I've been trying to grow into that person. You know what I mean? So like now having the title as senior, it's not meaning, oh, she has to be the leader, she has to be this, but I want to do that. And that's what I'm striving. That's what my goal is for the season, is to become that leader, that can lead. And, that's someone you can look up to, in terms of on the court, off the court, everything like that. So just because that title doesn't mean that you have to be the leader, but that's who I want to be. And I hope that that's, the aura that I'm giving off to my teammates right now.
It's funny, as I'm looking at your bio, and you're, there's always students that transfer. You transferred from the University of Alabama. And I'm reading here from Houston, right? Is your hometown?
Yes, Houston, Texas.
So from Houston, you went to Alabama, and then you transferred here. Which was the biggest change for you from high school in Houston, your hometown, going to Alabama, or the change from being in Tuscaloosa and coming to Honolulu? Which was the biggest change for you?
That's a really good question. Culture-wise, obviously the change from Houston to Alabama wasn't crazy. It's still in the South. People are still sort of the same. The culture is the same, but it is going from high school to college, which is a big jump. And then here, I think that probably maybe was the biggest transition, just because, you're not living at home. Finance, you have to figure all that out. But moving from Bama to Hawaii, the distance wasn't really a big factor to me. Like some people are like, oh, I can't move that far. Not that I love my family, but like that wasn't really like huge for me. And yes, the culture is way different. I really couldn't choose one. Maybe from high school to college, because that's just a big move. But from Bama to here, it was definitely different. Like the people here are so kind. I met a lot of great people on and off the court everywhere, and I love a fan base that Hawaii has. I think it's amazing. But probably the transition from high school just to college, just as it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's very huge. And when you consider about the age you're at that time, obviously, it makes a difference. But, student athletes will transfer from one school to the other for various types of reasons. But when you made the decision, okay, I want something different. What was it? Well, first of all, where were you? What other schools were you looking at? And then what kind of led you to eventually decide to come to the University of Hawaii?
Yeah, so that I transferred in between December and January, so in between the fall semester and spring. So that's a very sped up process for one. And I was looking at, I took like my 5 official visits, which was really cool to do because I committed to Bama, as a, sophomore, junior. So I didn't take all those 5 official. One, that was pretty fun. But the main other school I was looking at was Kansas State. And then Hawaii called me like at the last second, pretty much when I was comparing the two, like, I left Alabama for a reason. And I felt like K-State, was in that big conference, has the same sort of school culture. And, I wanted to transfer for a reason. So I felt Hawaii, had ample opportunities with, Coach Robin Moe being an Olympian setter for one, the history or the repeat seasons of, what was that, the last team that had just won Big West, made it to, whatever they did in the NCAA. So like, it was already a set culture that I was coming into. Also, my dad was like, when are you ever going to live in the state of Hawaii? It's like, that's a great point. So, just all these things, I didn't get to visit before. That was, a little shaky, a little nervous about that. But, good things don't happen to people that don't take risks. And I felt that this was a pretty secure risk that I was willing to go for. And I think it's been the best decision I've made in my life, which is crazy that I made it, in such a short span. But, I did it and I'm here and I love it. So.
Wow, that's great to hear. And you kind of touched on the fact that, head coach Robin Moe, during her playing time, obviously one of the great players here at the University of Hawaii, but became arguably one of the best setters in the world during her peak international play with Team USA, 3 Olympics. Was that kind of a thing, being a setter yourself? Like, hey, I'm going to be coached by one of the best that ever played the position? Or does it kind of give an added pressure? I'm going to be coached by one of the best setters that ever played the position, and they're going to be watching me like a hawk. How did you kind of look at that whole thing?
Definitely the first way. I see what you're saying in the second way, but for some reason my mind never went there. It was more like, if I want to become the best player that I can be, I need to train with the best. I need to be seen for the best. And also, the head coach, her former position being setter, the team is run in a different kind of way. Like they are seeing more strategic things, they're setting up bigger plays. It's just, the mind of a setter, whereas, coaches that were, formerly hitters, DSs, like it's definitely different the way they look at things because setters have already been trained to look at the game that way for years. So one, that was exciting. I was just excited. I was pumped. I wanted the challenge. I wanted her knowledge. I don't think I was ever really scared. Now, looking back at it, I'm like, oh, she sees every little detail. But, it's for the best. It makes us better. So, yeah.
Now, I know, well, first of all, when did you first start playing? What age were you?
I believe I started playing when I was 10, and I redshirted like on the 12s team for 2 years until I was actually 12, and then I like played and traveled and stuff like that.
Redshirted at that age.
Yeah,
they use that term over there at that
they
age.
They did use that term.
God.
So I just practiced, like no games, no playing, and I was terrible. I couldn't serve the ball over the net. Here we are.
So at what age then? You started at 10. You're redshirting. What age were you when you kind of realized or were told or became aware that, hey, I'm pretty good?
Okay. Probably around maybe 14s, 15. So I was at one club called Skyline. I was there for a while and I was a middle, but I was still training as a setter. So I was always both. And then I tried out this club called AVA, all in Houston. And they're like, like, you're pretty good. Like, we want you on this top team. We want you to set. We want you to play middle. And that's when I was like, wow, like, two people kind of want me. Like, I'm pretty good. And I do remember, I believe it was 8th grade. I went on a visit to Oklahoma. And he was like, we want to sign you now. And I'm like, I'm in 8th grade. I could say the same. I could get worse. You have no idea. So that's when I think I started realizing, I could be something. My mom also played college in volleyball, or played volleyball in college. My cousin played beach volleyball at Georgia State. So it kind of runs in the blood. And I think my mom would have told me, maybe volleyball's not your thing. But, I did have that little bit of raw talent, and it's just been, exceedingly grown by the many coaches that I've had.
Wow, nice. Now, I like to ask this because it's kind of interesting, but you're listed as 6'2". Were you always on the taller side at every age as you went up, or were you one of those that, man, you hit this growth spurt at 15?
No, I was always tall. I was taller than everybody. Middle school, high school, I was one of the tall. It was in middle school. There was a girl that was taller than me, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's taller than me. And that was amazing. Yeah, I was always taller than all the boys, the guys. My dad is about 6'7". My mom's 6'1". So I was just gonna be tall. I had no choice.
What is the advantage of being a tall woman?
A tall woman in general?
Yep.
It's amazing. I love it. I think it's empowering, especially when other tall younger girls are looking at you and they're like, wow, like, she's tall, she owns it, she's taller than all the guys, she doesn't care, she's wearing heels. I just love seeing girls see that in me. Or even like some people will mention my freckles. They're like, oh, like, do you ever feel like subconscious about like your freckles and that your face looks different? It's like, no, I feel great. And I feel like other people see that from me and they're like, wow, she can feel confident, I can feel confident. So, and I also, again, my mom was tall, so I never saw an issue with it. Never saw it was like, oh, like, tall is weird. No, everyone's tall in my family. It's normal. So I see it as a great thing. I love it.
Oh, that is so awesome. And like you said, it's great for, in terms of being a role model, to kind of project that so that all, tall girls can feel like that. They can feel comfortable with themselves. There was one time where, this has been a while now, where the University of Hawaii softball team, they had a really great season. So they were invited to the ESPYs, the ESPYs award show, which they just had, right? Couple of players, the head coach got to go because they were nominated, I think, for something like best comeback game. Like they came back from in the NCAA tournament. Anyway, so I don't think they won, but they got to go. If UH women's volleyball got nominated for a category to go to the ESPYs. Okay, so you, another player, and Coach Amo get to go now to the ESPYs award show, high level, classy.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about what you would wear?
That's not the question I thought you were going to. Okay. Okay, me and my friend have talked about this a lot, almost on your question. She always asks, what would you wear to the moon? So I'm going to give the same answer. It would be, have you seen, do you know Zendaya?
Yeah.
She has this like green pantsuit type vibe. It would be exactly that. Heels, pantsuit, little purse, Coach Rob on my side. Perfect. And it's green.
Green for University of Hawaii.
Yep.
Is she still with Tom Holland, Spider-Man?
I think so. But I think they're not like official, like they don't want to tell people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jeez, if I know, everybody knows. Did you just say you and your friend talk about what you guys would wear to the moon?
Yes. So she says this to everyone. She's like, if you're on your first date to the moon, what do you wear? Because it's the moon. That's your best fit. What do you wear? And then we judge people on what they say.
What would you wear?
It would be the same. It would be the same green pantsuit.
Okay, I gotta look up that outfit there and just see what you're talking about.
I'll
Now
send
it's
it
gonna
to
be.
you. I'll find it.
Is it this kind of green or kind of more that lighter kind of like that green in my
It's more
background?
of a light green. Yeah,
Oh,
light green.
okay. All
I
right,
hope
all right.
what I'm envisioning is exactly the picture.
You know, you mentioned camp doesn't start right now. Of course, the players, you guys are kind of, you're training independently, but
Yeah.
so getting school hasn't started yet. So there is some free time, and when you have some free
Mhm.
time in the spring semester, things like that, what do you like to do when you have time to just do whatever?
Whatever, usually go to the beach. Why? Because it's right there and it's free. It's amazing. You get a little tan, you feel nice. You know, the ocean heals everything, every wound, inside and out. So I love to go to the beach. I love to read, especially, you know, in off season. Because, well, for avid readers, you know, reading's like binging a TV show. Like, you can't put it down.
Yeah.
So whenever you have like a lot of that free time, it's nice to just sit there and read. And I also like to bake, and that's probably my three hobbies.
Okay, so reading. Do you have
Mhm.
some kind of genre? Is it fiction, nonfiction? What types of things do you read?
I like a lot of fantasy, a lot of fiction. I don't like the motivational books. You know, I'd rather learn something through a story than telling me what to learn. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, but yeah, I like a variety of books.
And so then on the baking thing now, let's say there's a potluck coming up. Hey,
Hmm.
Mylana, you can bake. What's your go-to to bring to the potluck that you would bake?
Oatmeal chocolate chip cookies, for sure.
Ooh. And
Yep.
that's healthy. I always say that's a healthy cookie.
Yeah, because of the oatmeal. Hmm.
Would you
No
make them
sugar,
like,
no butter.
you make them big or you like
I
small?
mean, they're decent size. You know,
That's
nothing crazy.
nice. That is nice. And the beach, any
Yeah.
favorite ones here that you kind of like to go to?
Well, if we want to make the trip all the way west side, I really like Waimea Bay. In
Ah.
the summer and the winter, both
Hmm.
nice.
Hmm.
But if we're just staying a little more local in town, you know, Waimanalo, a little bit closer. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I like to, you know, travel because Waikiki, you know, you get a little bit of rocks and stuff. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
Waimea is definitely my favorite.
absolutely, absolutely. What is your major and what are your plans after college?
Yeah, my major is bioengineering.
Oh,
So I graduate in December. I'm very excited about it. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do after college. You know, there's a lot of avenues. I don't know if I want to just go straight into a job or if I want to try and shoot for my master's. But I also don't know exactly what field I want to go into. So bioengineering is pretty broad. You can go more agriculture, or you can go more like in the food industry, or you can also go in the biomedical industry. I love all avenues. So I'm really thinking, you know, I need to get a job, you know, find out maybe what I don't like, and then try and go get my master's, you know, earn some money and go from there. So
okay. Now, when you just
rocky
mentioned your
path.
major, I'm like, whoa, that is, that sounds it is very hard. So
Yes.
I'm sure you get asked this. How do you manage your time? That is a skill all student athletes have to do if you want to be
Mm-hmm.
good academically, but especially with such a challenging major. Do you have any tricks, some special sauce,
I don't
something that
know.
you put on your head? What?
No, I don't think any tricks. I think what's really helped me, especially this past semester, so there's only the major's kind of small, and now that we're winding down, you know, junior, senior year classes, there's really a core like five of us, and you know, just being able to communicate with your other classmates, and you know, saying, you know, how did you do this, or I need help on this, and that really helped. So that core community, but also not procrastinating. You know, it's a big one for everything, and it also helps when you make other people accountable for you. So like I have my roommates as my teammates, or my teammates are my roommates. So I'm like, hey,
Hmm.
like, can you take my phone for an hour? Like, I need to do this. And they will
Oh,
not give it back because, you know, they're like, you told me to take it. I'm going to take it. I'm like, fair. You're right. So that really
ah,
helps. You know, also when we're traveling, when we have those allotted study hours, you can't just sit there and be on your phone. So, you know, that's a little motivation that definitely helps. And knowing that you have limited time. So knowing that you have to travel and you only have 2 hours before the game, it really motivates. And you know, as a competitor, you're like, oh yeah, the clock's winding down. Like now I need to go faster. That
Mm.
definitely helps.
Oh.
But it's definitely, it's not easy, and it's not for the faint-hearted. But I'm almost done, and I'm pretty proud of myself for getting through such a hard major. But yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, I'm gonna make a little edit pause here because I thought I had more battery life. I gotta plug in my cable here. Let's just hold on. Okay, now I want to ask a little bit about the team. So I'm just going to ask general characteristic questions, and I'm hoping if you don't want to say, you don't have to, but if you can, that'd be great. Okay, so which of your teammates would you say, and you can say yourself, by the way, is the most studious?
Studious.
Yeah.
Probably Anna. So Anna, she also is biomedical engineering, and she's on it. Way less procrastination, a lot more focus, but also, a year younger. She doesn't have that senioritis kicking in yet. So yeah, Anna.
Who's the sloppiest?
Sloppiest in terms of
the locker room. Constantly, I don't have this. My bag is messy.
Okay. That's a great question.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's Amber. Her locker is everywhere. Sometimes she'll lose a phone. She'll lose a sock. And I'm like, where did it go? It should be right there.
Who is, I don't know if humor is the word. Well, let's just go. Who's the most humorous? Who's the one that makes it lively?
Really gets people going. Yep. Normally I would say Amber, but Talia's kind of sneaking up in there. She's the new grad transfer from Michigan State. And I live with her, so her humor really just gets me. So I'm going to say Talia.
All right. When you go on the road, what aside from your game and practice equipment, the stuff you got to bring, is there something that a personal item you have to bring with you on the road?
Yes, my pillow. Not my big pillow. It's a little travel size pillow, and it fits like in the middle of my suitcase. You got to bring that and a blanket, just so you can sleep on the bus. You can sleep anywhere. Sleep on the plane, and then also when you get in the hotel bed, like you have a little piece of home with you.
Ah, very good. Which of your teammates gets the most nervous before a big match?
The most nervous. I think we all disguise it pretty well. Maybe Amber, just because she's more vocal with her, she just gets a little giddy sometimes. But honestly, I think we all stay pretty cool, calm, and collected.
Is there a common phrase or word that Coach Robin Amo always says?
She's going to kill me because there's probably so many, but in my mind, there's nothing. Well, sometimes if you mess up, she'll say, don't mess up or I'll have you sitting left bench. And that just means on the sideline. Coach Rob, I'm so sorry. There's probably so many other phrases. That's the only one that's going to come to mind.
I hear you. Well, you know what? It's been great chatting with you. We so look forward to this upcoming season, especially with you being the lone senior. Good luck to you, and also good luck to the team this upcoming year. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and we also have season tickets, on sale now. You can go get yours. We'd love it if you came. Thank you to all of our fans. Thank you, Dave.
All right. Yes, season tickets. Good plug. All right. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.